This is a story about the heritage of the Boys Brigade, the oldest Christian youth organisation in the world in this its 140th birthday year. Playing in a wet Edinburgh is a BB band with fanfare Rob Bolton, in memory of a man who spent most of his life researching the heritage of the Boys Brigade. We start our heritage tour at the birthplace of the founder, Sir William Alexander Smith, at Pennyland House, Thurso, at the very top of Scotland. Thurso is in the county of Caithness and is the most northerly town on the mainland of Great Britain, and is the name given to the Viscountcy held by the Sinclair family in the peerage of the United Kingdom. Thurso railway station opened in 1874 and is the most northerly railway station in the UK, with the port of Scrabster nearby providing daily ferry services to the Orkney Islands. It is here in Thurso that our story begins, when, on the 27th of October 1854, William Alexander Smith was born, the eldest son of Major David Smith and his wife Harriet. William had one sister and two brothers. He was to go on to form a new and revolutionary youth organisation in Glasgow called the Boys Brigade. Today, there is a museum in Thurso dedicated to his memory and pioneering work called the Sir William Alexander Smith Museum, which is managed by Joanna Geddes, BEM, captain of the 1st Thurso Boys Brigade. The museum contains many artefacts, pictures, albums, cards and BB uniforms from across the years and some rare items from the very beginning of the movement. Also included are BB membership cards from 1884 and a history of BB badges. Young people and leaders spent many hours learning about the heritage of the BB in this fabulous museum. Photos from 1989, when the BB in Guernsey paraded to celebrate the liberation from the Nazis after the Second World War. BB hats, including the pillbox hats with the company number stated on the front. Lifebuoys hats worn from 1899 until 1966. The museum has photos from the 9th of September 1933 Jubilee Parade at Queen's Park Recreation Field in Glasgow, when 30,000 officers and boys paraded to His Royal Highness Prince George, a march past that took 45 minutes. BB badges from 1950, including badges for camping, swimming, football, band and first aid, are on display along with badges from the 1970s. Certificates and pamphlets from across the years were available for young people to see and read. After spending time in the museum, everyone assembled at Pennyland House for a picture to remember the birthplace of the founder. Two sisters, Jess and Clara Tickle from the 5th Croydon Pipe Band, laid a wreath with help from the captain of the 1st Thurso at a permanent memorial near to the house. The wreath reads, "We remember the founder of the Boys Brigade, Sir William Alexander Smith, sure and steadfast," which is the BB motto. We now find ourselves at the BB HQ at Feldon Lodge. Here we find BB badges from the earliest days of the BB, along with a letter confirming the King's approval for the King's Badge, which was first awarded in 1913. Much of the archives are stored on film, a separate chapel with BB stained glass windows with the BB motto in its modern format of Sure and Steadfast. The BB archives also contain BB membership cards and BB badges along with pictures of royal presentations. Here we see the opening of the BB National HQ at Parsons Green in London. This was due to be opened by the Queen, who unfortunately was ill, so the duty fell to Princess Alexandra. A letter from the Queen apologising for her absence is in the BB National Archives.
Hello, my name's Colin Swinton and I'm the Boys Brigade Archivist. Today I'm sitting next to the 1933 Jubilee casket, which was sealed in 1933 with a message to the boys of this centenary in 1983. This is an image of the message which was sent to the boys, and this was opened in front of a crowd of 10,000 at Ibrox Stadium in August of 1983, and the message was read out to the boys from 50 years ago.
We met with officers from the Glasgow Battalion who conducted us on a walking tour of the city to see the places where the BB was first formed.
By generation in Glasgow, and I'm not sure if it's true or not, but the rumour is that they built this the wrong way around by accident. Before they realised that it was too late, so...
Isn't it the place where the BB was born?
Correct. 1 point to you, you're currently in the lead. So, and does anyone know what it is?
Before we set off in 3 separate groups, we posed for a picture at Kellingrove Park. We learnt that following his father's death, the Smith family moved from Thurso to Glasgow, where William was a pupil in the Burns and Sutherland School, where he ended his school days at just 14 years old. At 15, he began to work at his uncle's business, Alex Fraser & Co., who sold soft goods. He joined the 1st Lancashire Rifle Volunteers at age 19 and was promoted to the rank of Lance Corporal.
And if you know anyone who's in the Scouts, proudly tell them that the VB was here first, and actually the Scouts was an offshoot.
He also joined the Church of Scotland. In 1877, he was promoted to lieutenant and he became a Sunday school teacher.
Inside there on that first night, who we're going to get, will the programme work, will they enjoy it, will they come back, so all that would have been happening here, exactly.
This led him to found the Boys Brigade on the 4th of October 1883 at Free Church Mission Hall, North Woodside Road. The first BB camp was held at Tina Bruick in 1886, and in 1897 the then Duke of York became the BB patron. The Boys Brigade had found a way to keep the interests of the boy and to keep a strong connection with the church. In its first year, the 1st Glasgow had 30 boys, but by 1898 the brigade had grown to 468 companies, with other church denominations such as Catholic, Church of England and Jewish adopting the BB way. By 1932 there were 1,518 BB companies, with a total of 85,033 boys reaching into countries across the world. Much is said about the BB and Scout movement, but the facts are that Baden-Powell worked with the BB to formulate and try out his scouting ideas. Most of the boys involved in the Brownsea Island camp were members of the BB. The Scout movement evolved from the Boys Brigade, which started as a separate organisation in 1908. In 1926, the Boys Brigade Reserves amalgamated with the Boys Brigade for boys aged 8 to 11. The BB was involved in the pilot for the Duke of Edinburgh scheme in 1955, and in 1963 the World Conference of the BB was formed. In 1977, the Anchor section was started for boys aged 6 to 8 years, with the centenary celebrations in 1983, including a UK Royal Mail First Class stamp, along with other stamps around the world. The BB has taken part in many royal occasions, including the coronation of King Charles. A royal review took place in Windsor Castle by the Queen in 1994, and in 2008 a Girls' Association was formed. In July 1909, William Smith was knighted. We now turn to Glasgow Cathedral, where, in the northwest corner of the nave, is this inscription. This memorial in the Cathedral of Glasgow, in which city Sir William Smith lived and laboured for 45 years, is erected by the officers and boys of the Brigade in token of their love and esteem for one who devoted himself to the highest good of the boys of the nation, and whose life will always remain an inspiration and an example. We now see BB bands performing in Edinburgh, at Parliament Square and at St Giles Cathedral, where a plaque to the founder is displayed. There is also a plaque in St Paul's Cathedral, London. We see people gazing down from Edinburgh Castle. The governor of the castle, Brigadier Alistair Bruce of Cryonage, OBE, meets the Heritage Tour coordinator, Paul Whitmell, as well as Pipe Major John Tickle, before introducing himself to the young people and inviting them into the castle as his personal guests. Pictured is the Heritage Tour coordinator, Paul Whitmell, with his adjutants Aaron Kane and Alex Manders. The Heritage Tour now moves on to Inverness, where a guard of honour from the Highland Battalion welcomes the Lord Lieutenant of Inverness, James Wotherspoon. As part of the Heritage Tour, guests were invited to speak to the young people, starting with Jim McVean, Battalion Secretary of the Glasgow Battalion.
Some battalion secretaries and presidents in Glasgow have an unofficial WhatsApp group, and there was a message posted this afternoon. I posted a message saying, great to spend some time with some really talented musicians, organised trip, and it was great that this was happening in Glasgow. And Fraser came back and said, oh, I was there last night, it was great to speak to the young people. Hope your speech is as good as mine. So, who knows? I've been in the Boys Brigade for over... I've lost track. I joined the Boys Brigade in 1975. I used to be in the Scouts. So, I joined in 75, I got my Queen's Badge in 80, I became a leader in 83, I got the job as Battalion Secretary in Glasgow in 2009. I'm a Boys Brigade captain of 2 companies in Glasgow. I started one in a 5-year appointment in 2002. I'm still doing it. So that's the nature of the organisation. But it's great, I really enjoyed it this afternoon. I am not great at music. Glasgow was the founding battalion. Doesn't mean it's the best. Like any part of an organisation, we go through times of change. Some things we do right, some things we could do better. Sometimes you find something at an event and you think, I can use that. I've never been to a Boys Brigade event that I've not walked away thinking, I've picked up something. Today, I'm going back down the road tonight thinking, how have Glasgow not got a band? Glasgow used to have a central band. We were very fortunate and with the people that were committed enough to do that. Various things happen over the years. The Boys Brigade is very much about young people, but it's really about leaders. It's leaders giving up their time, as your leaders have done, to bring you on this trip. As I said, I don't know where this is going, but 40 years ago, I was involved in the centenary celebrations in Glasgow. I was a steward on a bus that was taking visitors from Australia and New Zealand to the main event that happened not far away from our offices in Glasgow at Ibrox Stadium. The bit of metal at the front it was a time capsule, or it is a time capsule. I started the job in the Boys Brigade in Glasgow in 2009, and one of the guys that's involved in the archives of the organisation sadly passed away, came in and said, and I've mentioned this to a couple of the leaders, so you can do what you like to reorganise Glasgow, you can do what you like to try and encourage numbers. They said, that casket never leaves Glasgow. This was a casket that was, time capsule, that was set up in 1933 and it was opened in 1983 at the centenary, and then it's been in Glasgow Battalion's office ever since then. And this guy said to me, don't let it leave the city. This is the first time that this has been out of Glasgow in 90 years. Don't tell anybody. It weighs an absolute ton. It's made of brass. A couple of people tried to lift it. But inside there was a message from, as it was then, the boys of 1933 to the boys of 1983. The message isn't really different to what it would be in the next time capsule. I didn't bring the next time capsule. There is another one. The 1983 one to be opened in 2033. So in 9 years, 10 months and 24 days, it's likely going to be opened. Now, I'm also a great believer in numbers and statistics. Do you know that 95% of statistics are made up on the spot? Because I couldn't tell you how many months and days it was, but it just sounded right. But so that's something that you are seeing that not a lot of people have actually seen, unless they were at that event. We're looking at opportunities to make sure that the history of the organisation and the heritage of the organisation is seen in a wider context. History and heritage can be divisive at times depending on the context. History and heritage form our futures, certainly in youth organisations, whether it's Boys Brigade and Girls Brigade. And it's important that as we continue the path that we are on as leaders and as young people in this organisation, that you remember the history of where it started, when it started, why it started, and then look at that and then bring that back to what happened in your local area, because there's a lot of history and heritage in your own companies. People are in, I think it's 11 7 companies, 11 companies? Something like that. Something like that. They're in something like that number of companies. And all these companies have got their own DNA. I like to call it that. Your DNA, I was in such and such. So I started off in the 202nd Glasgow. Now depending on what group you were into there, if you were in my group, I did mention at the start about Glasgow company numbers. The biggest company number in Glasgow was the 298. Now there was never 298 companies on the go at the one time. So they started numbering up to 165 and then stopped, and then they started reissuing numbers. But then it got a bit complicated. But some of the numbers 1 to 10, a few of those companies disappeared very early on, but they never reissued the numbers. But numbers in your area are part of your local identity, and that's important. But nobody is really going to say to me, okay, tell me what the 200th Glasgow is. If I say I was in the Boys Brigade, they understand. I happen to be in the 200th Glasgow, or the 125th Glasgow, or whatever company number it is. So that's really important. This type of event is part and parcel of what we do in the organisation. You will tell stories about what happens on this trip, and you'll be telling those stories in 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years time. And you'll be using those stories to influence the future generations that are coming through in this organisation.
I think it probably falls on me to give you a proper welcome on behalf of Stirling to Stirling. So you're very welcome. Stirling is one of Scotland's 8 cities now. We have 8 now since the King decided to make Dunfermline a city and not long after he was crowned. But Stirling is a very, very historic city, as you will probably work out. I've got an echo going on in my ear here, is that normal? But anyway. Used to say, if you held Stirling, then you controlled Scotland, because it's sort of the gateway to the Highlands. It sits at the highest, what used to be the highest crossing point on the River Forth. Very strategically important in ancient battles, and I'm sure you will be well versed in your history between Scotland and England, right? Still, they teach that in schools in England because they don't in Scotland anymore. But yeah, all around you here, this history is just oozing out of everywhere. So next door you got the Old Town Jail, loads of it. Go and take a little look in there. The Guildhall, the Church of the Holy Rood, up top, beautiful church. If you get 10 minutes to go and look in it, absolutely do it. Yes, even you kids. Stirling Castle, loads of it in there. Stirling Castle's a lot of money to get in, but maybe you've got a little sneaky deal. You can talk the way into it usually. So, and then keep looking around. You've got the Wallace Monument on the hill there. I used to work there. It was my first job as a student. It's a great place to go and just have a look. You can see so much of Scottish history laid out in front of you. And then you've got the Battle of Bannockburn site at the other side of Stirling. It's laden with it. So you are all very, very welcome here. My BB company there is unique in the sense that it's very big, and not that many BB companies these days are very big. We have, between anchors and juniors, company and seniors, about 150 boys. Don't just be careful what you wish for, because it's very challenging, very challenging. But it's also it's a great thing to be able to do. So, but we kind of compete, and we kind of keep an eye on. There's the BB company up in Buckie, which you definitely won't go to, but it's a tiny little fishing town on the north coast of Murray. There's basically nothing to do there, but there's a huge BB company, probably the biggest in Britain. They've got over 200, I think. And then you've got 6-8 Dundee, who also have a pipe band, very good pipe band, in Lochee and Dundee, and they're about similar numbers to us. And then most other BB companies are a bit more normal and have sensible numbers. That are a bit easier to manage.
Hi, I'm Michael Macaulay. I am the Secretary for Boys Brigade Highland Battalion. I have been the Battalion Secretary for the past 6 years, taking over the role at the age of 19. Boys Brigade Highland, 10 companies in the Highland area, with our companies in Inverness, Glenurquhart, Nairn, Dornoch, Fort William, and our founder's birthplace, Thurso. 8 of our companies are boys only, and the other 2 remaining companies, Nairn and the 10th Inverness, take both boys and girls. Majority of our companies will wear shirt and tie and jumpers for leaders and company section and seniors, and our anchor and junior age group will wear the red or blue jumpers depending on the section. We were absolutely delighted to welcome the bands to Inverness, and we're happy to support in any way we could to make the day possible. Local community has been absolutely fantastic. Feedback has come in with a number of comments sort of on the day of going, oh, this is really good, what's it all about? So it did open a few conversations about what BB is, what we do, and how we work. Our local paper also picked it up, and our social media has been very busy with it. We're still getting likes through this, even if a few weeks later we're still getting likes on it, so it's still being viewed, it's still out there. I just want to thank everybody that came to Inverness and did loads of things in the background for us, leaflets, everything like that. I hope you had a great time while you're up here.
In the junior section, watching the company pipe band play, thinking, I really want to do that. And I also remember vividly the night we were asked who would like to learn the pipes or drums, and going through to the wee hall and then been explained what's going to happen on a Monday night. So I joined the pipe band, so I've always got a soft spot for bands, which is why when the battalion asked for volunteers for this gig, I said I'll come and do it. So it was really good to do that. I became the captain of the 14th Paisley. I was an elder in a church in Paisley, which was a Church of Scotland and URC joint church, and people kept saying to me, you should be getting into the ministry. So look, I'm a BB captain, I've got a young family, I'm a surveyor, I can't do that. However, eventually, 10 years ago just now, I thought, no, I need to investigate this, and this ministry's for me a lot. So anyway, pushed the button, went to Glasgow Uni, all the rest of it, so now I'm a minister. And I came to be a minister in Edinburgh to two United Reformed churches, one just at Murrayfield, where the rugby play, and one down in Leith. I'll come on to that in a minute, because some people don't know what Leith is, right? So when I arrived, if you're on a vacancy committee or a nominate committee, the new minister's always asked to do things with young people. And in Duke Street, that was one of the key things they wanted to do. They had rainbows, brownies and guides. They used to have a Boys Brigade company, and then I discovered quickly that most of the elders were either ex-Boys Brigade officers or were married to ex-Boys Brigade officers. So I said, okay, let's start a BB company. So I said, look, don't worry about it, I'll not ask you to do anything, I'll sort it. So 6 years ago, we started with just anchors. We thought we'll do it, a slow start with anchors and build up. We advertised in Facebook. We thought, first night, who's going to come? So 7 boys came, and we just kept it boys because we already had the rainbows, brownies and guides in the church. But if they ever closed, we would make it Girls Association, that's perfectly acceptable now, obviously. So we built up the junior section and COVID hit, but we kept it going through Facebook, and this year we started our company section with 4 guys. So I keep telling the church now, the next move's the pipe band in a few years' time. So the company's doing well, and I say, man, we struggle with leaders, but I'm sure everyone here has that same challenge. But it's doing a good job, and it's just great to come to stuff like this when you realise it's more than just you, and there's other people doing it as well. Then in a weak moment, I said I'd become battalion chaplain, and that's a tough gig, but coming to things like this is good, so I'm really pleased to be here. And I've also been the King George VI chaplain for the last year. I did KG6 back in 88, 89, and if I'm honest, probably a call to ministry started then, but I didn't realise that until I started preparing for being chaplain at the KG6 course 2 years ago. So I was KG6 chaplain at Carnvale, and that was a great opportunity and great to meet guys like yourselves. And if you ever get the chance to go to a KG6 course, I would highly recommend it. A great experience and a great thing to do. But I've got a soft spot for BB bands, as I said.
We now move to the grave of the founder, Sir William Smith. His gravestone reads, "In loving memory, Amelia Pearson, beloved wife of William A. Smith, Brigade Secretary, the Boys Brigade." William Alexander Smith Knight, born at Pennyland, Thurso, 27th of October 1854, founded the Boys Brigade 1883, died in London on the 10th of May 1914.